Hey cool cats, Roz and Neko here. Today we'll be going over My Next Life as a Villainous, All Routes Lead to Doom, Pirates of the Disturbance. This game is based on the hit anime, manga, and light novel series, but we're only going to be focusing on the game because that's what I played. The setting takes place in a world where there are royals that use magic like water, wind, healing, and there's a bit of a basis for color as well. Our heroine, Katarina Clays, was once a high school student who was reincarnated into an Otome game fortune lover as the Villainous, who, no matter what she does, whose route will lead to her doom. Where have we seen this before? Anywho, she survived in all of her doom routes, and in this game, it's now spring break from school, and she's headed on a luxury liner called Villainous, and apparently so are all of her friends. Classic. Now they get to all enjoy this wonderful spring break together, doom-free, in this one Otome game, you know, where they never have sequels and things never go wrong, right? Yeah, the ship gets taken over by pirates from where, depending on who you get, the story can go a lot of different ways, and oh boy, were there a lot. Can we talk about her friends for a second? She says her friends are all Otome guys that are hot, but they keep the art style about the same that you would see in about any average anime. So it doesn't really stand out. And when they dress up for a party on the Villainous, sure, it looks really nice and fancy when you first see it, but then when you kind of play the game over and over, it loses its shine after a while. But anyway, continuing with the characters, one of the first options is Keith, who's the adopted, overbearing, but still really caring stepbrother. I went after him first because I thought it would be really interesting, but he really was a little much even up to the end, but it was still super cute. Next is Nicola, which is the yudara, who rarely shows his emotions, if at all, but honestly, he's so considerate and super sweet that it was honestly really hard to tell, and he became my favorite just because he was a way better brother than Keith was. He is actually the older brother of Sophia, who I'll talk about in a minute, and honestly, she was a great sister, and honestly a wing sister too. And going down his route, it was honestly really interesting too. It was way out there compared to everyone else's, and I don't understand why his story was way different from everyone else's, but he's very considerate of everyone else and not even to a fault, and thinks ahead too. And then there's Gio, and oh my gosh, did this hurt my head so much. Honestly, he's just one step away from being a yandere, but I don't see him that way, and this goes into a really heavy spoiler territory, and you can catch why in my Kitty Corner podcast, which if you subscribe now, you won't miss out on any of the spicy detail down below. But yeah, I hate him a lot. And then there's Alan. I would describe him as the wannabe tsundere because he honestly just says things just to say things. A tsundere would say like, you run, you're gonna trip over yourself, you idiot. He just kind of like says it nonchalantly like, oh, if you do that, you're gonna run and you're gonna hit yourself. And then if the heroine falls, and he's like, yep, that happened. And then just keeps walking. But he'll help her is the thing. And he'll like actually show that he cares. And then we have Rosie, the super sweet engineer on the ship. Ship it. That's all I can really say about him before going into like any spoiler territory. But honestly, playing throughout the game, I couldn't really feel much for him, but I would say he's my second choice because honestly, compared to the rest of the options, I just can't. But again, I don't want to go through spoiler territory, but if you do want to hear about it, Kitty Corner podcast. And then we have Silva. I honestly did not expect him to be a playboy, so I was honestly disappointed. And as much as the guys are there, her female friends are honestly the best part. Maria is a sweetheart. Mary is a fighter. Sophia is the bestie with the romance novels because romance novels are the best. And whenever Katarina is not with them, it becomes a riot with how defensive and protective everyone gets about her. But Katarina as a character is debatable for me. She's a great character when the series first starts off. I mean, she's the comedy through and through. She has a hard time fitting in through a higher society due to her previous life being a high schooler. She's constantly hungry, thinking about how to avoid doom flags, or setting up Maria, the actual protagonist in the game, with others, loving her friends, seen as having random thoughts, having a random counsel of herself when thinking serious situations through. And there are times when I feel for her, like not being able to fit in a society and having to act certain ways, or constantly being talked down to, or being on edge when being watched. But she doesn't let it get her down, probably because she's not thinking, and that's part of the problem. She becomes becomes unbearable to play through in these games because when the love interests tell her that they love her, she goes, as a friend? Can this be cute? Can it be funny? Absolutely. But not during a serious confession scene. It wasn't used all the time, thankfully, so the only time I found her unbearable was near the end when the confessions came in, and she just wasn't getting it in some of the routes. Otherwise, the game was pretty decent, but I wouldn't recommend playing this game to the average Otome gamer. I noticed there was a lot lacking in this game that you would normally have in an Otome game. The writing style was as if they said, yep, copy, paste it, it's an Otome game now. You couldn't even change the name, which made it less personal. All the characters had pre-established history with the heroine that you slowly found out while they all loved her, which was cute and all. There was no extra CG, not much game content or bonuses, a lot of it was just comedy. All of the love interests were very into the heroine. At times it was a bit much, and it feels more like this game was made for fans of the series rather than Otome gamers themselves. But did it take away from the enjoyment of the game? Absolutely not. I found myself laughing or enjoying the game so much and wishing so badly that I had watched the series earlier. I already wanted to watch, read, and get into the series even more so. If anything, I recommend playing this game after you watch the series to make sure you will really enjoy it. If you enjoy Otome games in general and want a silly game to play after some hardcore ones, I would definitely add this one to the collection. 90% of you aren't subscribed. What are you doing? Join the stampede and hit that subscribe button for all things Otome, and if you don't,